it sounded like the shots were coming out. I was woke up at 7:07 this morning by shots. It sounded like they were coming out directly from outside of my bedroom window. At first I thought it might have been kids playing with firecrackers or something, car backfiring. It stopped for about 5 minutes. I went and used the washroom, and they started up again, and I realized that they were definitely gunshots. So I called the police immediately. They already said that they were aware of the situation and had officers dispatched. The shooting stopped for about 15 minutes or so, maybe 20 minutes, and then it started back up again, probably about 5 shots. It stopped for about half an hour and then started up again. And I was on my floor of my apartment most of the time. I was posting on my Facebook page. I own Fredericton, so I was trying to let people know to be informed and stay away from the area. And that's about it. I was just sitting there, just hoping that nobody was going to get hurt.
Dave, we're trying to figure out exactly what it was you think you heard. Was it a sense that there was a firefight back and forth, or that there was a suspect being pursued, being shot at by police?
Actually, during the whole thing, it sounded like somebody was going around and randomly shooting off a gun. It wasn't semi-automatic sounding or anything. It sounded like a rifle or a shotgun. I didn't think there was any shootout between the police, but I couldn't tell because the sounds would come from all around the area kind of deal. And it's also hard to tell in the complex because it's 4 buildings in a semicircle, so the sound bounces around in the courtyard in between them all, and it's hard to tell exactly where a shot's coming from.
Can you describe the apartment complex? Is this the sort of environment where you might see police officers on any kind of regular basis?
Well, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes there's police officers in there, not for a guy like me, but there's a few bad seats in there, I guess you could say. Most of it, though, I have two senior citizens on my floor. It's usually pretty mellow, but every so often something happens. But obviously something never like this. We've never even seen anything like this in Fredericton.
When you say something happens in the complex, what sort of activity would bring police to the scene?
Oh, maybe somebody fighting with their wife or something like that, or maybe somebody's being too loud with the party. That's only happened once. I've lived there for two years, and I heard there was an altercation between a boyfriend and a girlfriend a couple of months ago. I mean, it's not that frequent to have cops here, but.
So you were listening to this gunfire. Again, we don't know whether it was an exchange of gunfire or who was doing the shooting, but there was gunfire. It's early in the morning. It's in your apartment. What happens next?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. You don't know what to do in this situation. It's not like we're hardwired to, wake up to shots getting shot outside of our house in such a beautiful city. So, I mean, I thought I was dreaming almost, but I obviously wasn't. There's 4 people dead now. So.
Did you have any interaction with the police at that point?
The police came in about 8:30 or so and searched my apartment. I knew they were coming because I heard them banging on doors, so I had all my closet doors open for them and stuff so they could go through my apartment quickly and carry on with their search. They didn't give me any information at that time, so I just went back to sitting on my kitchen floor.
Okay, you're on your kitchen floor, you're hearing gunshots, and then the police come through. Are they emergency task force, heavily armed? Describe the scene in your apartment?
Well, I mean, it was just a regular police officer with his revolver. They did come get me out approximately half an hour ago to bring me over here to the Tim Hortons, and those guys were heavily armored. They looked military, but they were the RCMP, probably special task kind of group, and they had big guns and armor and everything. So,
what did the police tell you about what had happened?
They didn't tell me anything. I was getting it from all my friends messaging me on Facebook. I was doing a live feed on my site for Friday Scene, what was going on, so people were giving me information like that, and my girlfriend was calling me.
So when the police either came to your door or they escorted you out, did they give you any indication of what was going down?
No, they took my phone from me. I was actually in an interview with a CP out of Toronto, and they took my phone and shut it off and escorted me out of the building.
What's the situation there right now?
I'm over by Tim Hortons, and it's seeming pretty calm now, but I think they're just checking to see if there's an accomplice or anything involved.
We're hearing a lot of reports about the number of shots fired. In your best estimation, because you seem to have been able to hear a significant number of them, any idea how many shots did you think were fired?
Because I was groggy when I woke up, I'm guesstimating between 15 and 20, possibly 17 is what I feel.
Joining us now is Harry Forstall, the CBC's Harry Forstall, and he is the host of the CBC News there. He, as we understand it, near the Tim Hortons, which is at the far end of the area that's locked off. Harry, what have you got?
That's right, John. This is where most of the activity is taking place right now. Behind me, I think you can see a fire vehicle as well as some ambulances. There were up to 24 emergency vehicles here earlier today. This all kicked off at about 7:15, according to residents, and I'm just going to show you the other side of the camera here right now. This is a small strip mall that's in the area that services this neighborhood. Some of the people who lived in the apartment buildings, I'm going to tell you about waiting there for further information from police. Behind me there is 4 red brick apartment buildings, and that appears to be where most of the activity was taking place this morning. I've talked to a couple of the residents there who described shooting breaking out as early as 7:15, bevy of shots. One resident who described someone with a long arm in a basement window shooting into the courtyard at the center of these buildings, and who described seeing 2 uniformed bodies on the ground. And someone else who had described a citizen also on the ground. There was a police vehicle that had pulled up to try to get the 2 uniforms out of the way. One gentleman I spoke with said he had gone out to help, and police said his help wasn't necessary. They ushered him to safety and continued with their work. We've been told by Fredericton Police, John, that there are 4 fatalities. We haven't had any further description of who those fatalities have involved, but descriptions by residents of at least 2 uniformed bodies.
And again, we emphasize that has not been officially made public by the police, but in speaking to eyewitnesses, that's what they told you, right, Harry?
Absolutely, that's correct. Spoke with another gentleman who lived in an upstairs apartment, who looked out his window, saw the shooter after that bevy of shots at about 7:15 and following, who said that the shooter had actually aimed at him and shot towards his apartment as well. He's also safe now over here with the gathering of residents trying to figure out what's going on. But you can see there's quite a... Let me turn around here, John, so I get a better perspective for you. There is an armored vehicle just on the other side of that Fredericton fire vehicle. That armored vehicle has been moving around the 2 low-rise brick apartment buildings in the background there. And it appears as though things have quieted down slightly now. An ambulance just left. It didn't have its lights flashing. A couple of police vehicles left as well. But there is a mixture of Fredericton uniform officers, RCMP officers, and officers dressed in There are some civilians that have been accompanied out of those buildings.
Harry, you say that people are gathered there. Is there anyone nearby that you could have a word with for us?
Pretty quiet, but let me see if I can speak with the gentleman here who I spoke with earlier. Just bear with me for a second, John.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we can do. Can I ask you a couple of questions again? Do you mind?
Yeah.
Can you describe what you saw this morning when you were in your apartment?
I just woke up and I heard gunshots, and I looked outside my window, and there was basically 3 dead people laying there.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't a pretty sight.
What did you do then? You went out to help.
The cops were trying to put one of their officers in the vehicle so they could take them out to safety. So I went out and I tried to help them, and they couldn't get them in, so they told me to just get in and evacuated.
What time of the day was that?
It was probably 8:30, 9 o'clock.
And what you heard the initial shots? How many did you hear?
I heard probably a full clip go off. I don't know how many was in it, but it was a lot.
And the officers, when you went out to help them, what did they tell you?
They told me to get the cover because the guy was still shooting.
Right.
They were trying to get their own to safety.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you live in one of these low-rise apartment buildings that we've been looking at, right?
Yes, I do. I live in Building D.
In Building D?
Yes.
And is that where the individual was who was shooting?
No, he was in Building C.
Right. So right across from you.
Right across from me, yes.
He was in a basement window, right?
No, he was in the very top.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Yeah. And what has happened since you've been here? You've been watching events.
Yes.
Things seem to have calmed down since then.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
I've just been basically waiting to know when I can go back home.
Yeah. And what's the feeling among you and your neighbors? Because there are other people here as well who live in those buildings. Have you ever seen anything like this before? Has there ever been any kind of disturbance there that warranted police attention?
No, it's just crazy. Like, there is cops there sometimes, but you just take it as like people fighting or something. Maybe that's what it is. But when it gets this crazy, I know I've never ever saw something like this.
Can you tell me your name?
Justin.
All right, Justin. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
You live over there, this name, sir, Justin.
So there you have it, John. I'll back up here now and get into the light again so we can see what's going on. That was Justin. He lives in one of the low-rise brick buildings you're seeing over there. That was his first-hand witness report. Still a lot of confusion here, though, about exactly what precipitated these events. But clearly there has been some fatalities from shooting in this neighborhood. I have to say, this is, quite a residential neighborhood. I'll turn us around again just to give you an idea, John, of, sorry for my fingers on the screen there, give you an idea of what this neighborhood is like. Straight up the street here, you can see the police have blockaded the end of the street. This is, beautiful homes and a lovely, lush, urban neighborhood in Fredericton. And Brookside is a main drag on the north side of the river that brings people to a shopping mall up the street and this small suburban mall that we're broadcasting from right now. So there are police officers, uniformed officers from the Fredericton Municipal Police and the RCMP gathered in a group. You might be able to see them there by that armed vehicle. And it is a much calmer situation than we had described earlier today as we wait to find out exactly what the details of this incident are.
And again, you spoke to, that individual there referenced a uniform, and this is something not confirmed by police yet, and we're careful to emphasize that, but you're saying that eyewitnesses described two of the individuals as being, quote-unquote, in uniform.
Yes, one eyewitness we've talked to has said he saw two uniforms laying on the ground and other officers trying to get them to safety.
We're also hearing a variety of eyewitness accounts over the number of shots. The individual you spoke to referred to a clip. Well, that could be 6, that could be 20. But we're hearing as many as 20 rounds were potentially fired.
That's correct. I would say dozens is what eyewitnesses are telling us here. So 1 to 2 dozen shots in varying volleys, as well as some shots shortly after or shortly before 9 o'clock in that area. A handful of shots, and then nothing since then.
Is there a sense, and maybe asking too much of you or anyone else who witnessed this, but is there a sense that these were from a single weapon or that there was some kind of exchange of fire?
Couldn't say, John. We're not sure. One of the witnesses I've spoken with said he saw the barrel of a gun, of a long arm, poking through a window, and that was how he knew what was going on. Other than that, we've had no description of the type of weapon that was used or how many weapons might have been involved in this situation.